I always think be open to opportunities. I
Yep.
never poo anything because I think maybe there's something I could learn there. And like, I'm always like, don't look back, just look brave.
It's episode 231. This is the Token CEO podcast. It is Thursday, September 8th. We are officially in September. It's the week after Labor Day. I sent a post out on LinkedIn this morning about, the first day back after Labor Day is just so tough. What I am excited about is sweater season is around the corner, which is just exciting. Two, I like the fall. Fall's like back to school, back to work. It's time to get serious, time to sit up a little bit straighter. And I like that. I think it's exciting to have a season. I love being in a part of the country, in our country, that has seasons. So love a new season. Speaking of seasons, we have a great episode today. We're talking to Karla Welch. So Karla Welch is awesome. I loved her. She's a huge stylist. She just did Olivia Wilde, which is a big deal because of whatever the project is with Shia LaBeouf and Flo and this, that, and the other thing, which you should listen to Chicks in the Office, or better yet, watch Chicks in the Office. You can get the skinny on that. But Karla talks about, she's got like 5 different companies running. She's also styling the most famous people in the world, which is exciting. But we have a conversation about confidence. We have a conversation about being an entrepreneur. We talk a lot about her company, which is called The Period Company, which is super interesting. They are helping people with periods. We're doing Q&As as usual. We'll have closing thoughts. We'll give a quick update on things happening around here. All right, so we're gonna kick it to Karla Welch. I loved Karla Welch. Her face was like so like moist and shiny. She was wearing we talk about this, she's wearing a Brooks Brothers shirt. Well, she was wearing the striped button-down shirt. Now she's got me thinking about striped button-down shirts. I spent like all weekend on Etsy looking for striped button-down shirts because I asked Karla Welch, legendary stylist, like, who makes your shirt? Thinking she would be like, shut up, lady, I don't tell you who makes, or like Valentino or something. She's like, oh, I get them on Etsy. They're Brooks Brothers. You can get them for like $30. So that's what I tried to do. So speaking of buying vintage, cheap Brooks Brothers shirts versus spending money on new ones, I love Truebill. Truebill helps you take control of your financial life. They've also rebranded, so they now are called Rocket Money. So they were bought by Rocket Companies. That must be Rocket Mortgage. They've changed their name from Truebill to Rocket Money. And what they've done is they've grown from a bill management app into a full-on personal finance empowerment tool that helps you with budgeting, lowering your bills, canceling subscriptions, and more. On average, they save people $700 a year. I went and bought like 4 shirts on Etsy, 4 Brooks Brothers shirts, and then my person was like, how much money did you save? And I was like, well, I didn't actually save any money, but I could have spent so much more. Rocket Money will help you get control of this and avoid the situation that I'm in. Bottom line, Rocket Money is everything that everyone's ever loved about Truebill, but with a fresh look and feel. You can cancel your unused subscriptions, you can get a hold of your budgeting, you can have a total personal finance empowerment tool if you go to rocketmoney.com/token. That's rocketmoney.com/token. Or you can be a go-getter and download the app today from the App Store or from Google Play. All right, so now we're talking to Karla. Karla, all right, let's start just by having you introduce you. Like, who are you? What do you do? Give us the spiel.
Well, I'm Karla Welch. I don't even know what I am anymore. I'm a celebrity stylist in Los Angeles. I'm also a founder. I am a co-founder of the styling app, The Wishy. And I am a co-founder of a clothing brand called X Karla, which is kind of resting right now, post-pandemic, or while in pandemic, and I am the founder and CEO and co-CMO of The Period Company. And I'm a mom and a wife and a dog mom, all these things.
Yeah, what kind of dog do you have?
I wish it was one. I have 3 adopted Rottweilers.
Oh, wow. That's a lot of dogs.
I know. Yesterday, I kind of realized like, and one of them's a puppy. And I'm like, what? We fostered this puppy that was dying, and they needed help, this shelter that I work with. And then of course we ended up keeping her, and now I'm like, oh my God. I think my husband's like, just about this.
Enough with the dogs.
Enough with me and the dogs.
Yeah, okay, I get that. Okay, so describe what it's like to be a celebrity stylist. That's just such a, like, I can't decide if a celebrity stylist is like a dream job, or you're like, ugh, that's like such a like posing thing to say? Do you know what I mean?
Sure, I guess.
Like, do you feel like an asshole when you say it?
No,
Said with love.
no, for sure, for sure. I don't know that I feel like an asshole when I say it. I think maybe a few years I probably did, but now I'm like, whatever. I don't think it. I always make sure it's like people realize I'm not a celebrity. I'm just working with celebrities. So I actually think I take a lot of pride in my work because I know I'm a real integral part of the people I works with image and their business and their
Yeah.
strategy. So
Yeah.
for me, it's interesting because I like to operate on a level where it's about process and end game and goals rather than it's just
Uh-huh.
zipping up the dress. So what I do, I mean, it's good. It's a tough job. I know it doesn't sound tough because it looks
No, I
very
think it seems
glamorous,
super tough.
but it's rough. It's like a lot of the grind. And just right now speaking to you, we're going into a really crazy season for us. Like the film festivals are starting and the award shows are starting. And so it's busy, high pressure time. But like I love it? Yeah. My sometimes, 20 years in tired of it, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so cool. So talk a little bit about the strategy. I love that you say that. Like I agree with you. I think, look, I think what's so nice about a stylist is that you clearly are able to curate an image
Mhm.
for someone. You're able to understand their body, their proportion, who they are, what they're comfortable in. How do you think about somebody's strategy and how clothes play a role or their style plays a role in who they're in their image? Like talk a little bit about that.
Sure. So I'll talk a little bit about the process of getting to know a client, or if we have a specific project to promote. So, say for example, Sarah Paulson is promoting a new movie. I'll think about what the movie is, where we're going in terms of events, and what like we're going to articulate. We've got a pretty established look right now, and that's we just kind of continue on that because
Hmm.
ultimately, like I always want to make sure it's appropriate. I want to make sure, obviously, the client feels really great in it. And what's the story we're telling with the clothes, how we align with specific brands. Like, are there opportunities for my client to get a brand deal? So that's always ultimately where, like, how can we make the money doing this side of it? Is it a beauty deal? Is it a espresso
Like,
deal? Like, how
sure.
you show up for these celebrities is how they can impact all the brand side of things. So, we have the Emmys coming up. We're wearing a designer that the house very much likes her a lot. We want to turn that into a deal.
Okay, that's so smart, Karla. And do you take a cut of that deal?
You know what? This is the one thing. That's not how it's set up right now. But
Okay.
but there are very brilliant. I should. I mean, I'm just not with we're just using
This
Sarah as an
particular scenario.
example. Yeah, this
Yeah.
particular scenario, but there is movement towards that because we are huge. Like every one of my girls gets a contract. There is
That's
discussion
amazing.
of that where I can't be just patted on the back, right? Ultimately, we want to make
Yeah.
sure that I'm worked into deals that you get to style the campaigns, you do the press looks and that. But
Mm.
that further step you're taking is not always doesn't always happen in our business,
Huh.
and I think it should.
I agree with that, especially because you're so entrepreneurial. So like ultimately, look, I think the old way of doing business is kind of dead, where it's like the agent goes and finds the house
Yeah,
and they connect the two and take 10%.
yeah,
And at this point, you're a better salesperson for your client because you understand you're
100%.
making the brand.
Yeah,
So you're the salesperson. You should get the VIG for that. That's interesting.
yeah, that is, you just landed on it immediately, and I think it's often people who aren't inside a business that can see really
Yeah.
where the holes are, because you're right. I'm talking to the houses more than an agent who just comes in at the last minute.
Definitely. And in a way that understands their product, like
Yeah,
and can
correct.
position like you're the marketer in a way.
Yeah.
Like you understand the product, you understand how to make it come to life.
Yeah.
Is it hard landing clients? Like, are you in a sales mode a lot?
No, not anymore. I started about 20 years ago, and I had a real, like, very, very, I mean, I still have an incredibly strong work ethic, but I didn't say no to anything because I thought anything that comes my way, I'm going to do to the good and the bad of it.
Yep.
So I could learn. At this point in my career, it's more like the calls come in and do I say yes or do I say no?
That's so great. And people know you by reputation. They're like, ooh, is it a certain look or is it a certain way that you work with people?
I think it's a certain way. And to be honest, like, I'm really like, you know what you're getting with me because I'm obviously on Instagram and I'm pretty vocal and political. And so I think there's a specific type of person who gravitates towards me. But I think it's like, at a certain time there's like a level of us and then there's like the up and comers who are going to be the next us when we like age out of it. But I think it's like, pick your poison. There are definitely a few stylists I think most of the girls want to work with, and I'm fortunate to be one of them.
That's so cool. So was it risky for you to become so outspoken on social, knowing your business?
Oh,
like
probably.
You're in a customer business?
Probably, because now you see it. It's part of everybody is. But when I really started, it was even before the 2016 election. And I remember an agent at the time saying, you need to watch it. And I was like, no, I don't.
Yeah, this is me.
Why would I fucking care if someone doesn't want to work with me because I like stand up for clearly what I believe is right? It's not like I have total fringe views here. Like,
yeah.
Maybe I'm standing up for the underdog.
Interesting.
But I did definitely lose. I definitely, got taken out of the mix for lots of stuff. Like, I remember very big brands were like not that interested. More consumer brands rather than like niche houses. But I also know that I kind of forged a path where people were like, oh, you know what? I am going to use my platform. So
that's super interesting. It's kind of like, we always say that all the time here, which is that like, look, if the fact that you're just public about how you feel, like that person, if they don't agree with your views or they don't like who you are or how you do things, they're not going to like working with you anyways, regardless if you talk about it or not. Like, and so you might as well fucking talk about it. Okay, so that's the stylist part of your business. I think you seem amazing. I would love to work with you. I don't have any fancy place to go, but
well, that's why we created the Wishy. It's for everybody else. It's to help people get
okay. So for everybody like me in the everybody else bucket. So Wishy stands for I wish I had a stylist. Like, give the Wishy pitch.
So Wishy's like kind of amazing. So the Wishy is, I always was like getting texts from family and friends. Should I buy this? What do I wear with this? And it was really annoying, to be honest. And I thought there's got to be a way to take what I do process wise, because there is a process. I meet someone, I do this. There's all the boxes you check. I said, there has to be a way to do this digitally. And this was, quite a few years ago, and apps were getting better and better. And I was like, there's got to be a way to organize someone's closet and help them make looks from their closet and then add in the pieces they need. But the same sort of treatment that I would give my clients in a virtual way. And I very fortunately met this gal, Clea O'Hara, who is brilliant. And she had an app. It was called Wishy at the time as well, but it didn't have any of these elements to it.
So and you helped her create the perfect styling product.
Yeah, our friend connected us, and I was like, this is what I want to do. She's like, I know how to build that platform. The tech is really phenomenal. And so we kind of shook hands. I got the co-founder credit, and we dove into creating this like monster app. And when we started, another like really interesting part of it, but it's super easy. We have like the most amazing fashion team, and you run through this little checklist of like what colors you like, what shapes you like, what part of your body you like, and then the AI kind of clicks in, and then we'll know. And then you just start texting with your stylist within the app, and we would send you, for example, like say you're like, I want 5 working outfits. You could either choose to upload your closet, which is like you taking pictures and then they just populate your closet. Or you're like, Karla, I want to buy this much stuff. This is my budget. Then the stylist handpicks everything. So it's not
human.
like it's a human. It's not. The AI helps the stylist because we have a huge inventory of basically anything.
And then the stylist curates.
And then
it's human and AI.
It's human and AI. And then
so smart.
And then, yeah, and then you really work with your stylist and like you get cute mood boards, and then you can just, and then we also have a universal cart. That was like a huge thing for me because I hate when someone tells me to buy something and I have to go to 6 stores.
100%. So and then you're like, these people are stealing my credit card.
But within that, we also work with tons of businesses. We're like we have a white label where we work with pretty huge retailers to be their stylist. So it's a really big
smart. And then
business.
So like, let's say I love your shirt. Who makes your shirt?
Okay, everybody, I got this shirt on Etsy because I'm obsessed with worn in men's Brooks Brothers shirt. So this summer I did like a good dive into Etsy. Just type in men's oversized dress shirts, Brooks Brothers, $35. This is like a $250 shirt, and it's already been worn probably 30 times for me. Thank you, whoever did it. It's been perfectly washed.
I love that. See, that's so creative. Yeah. All right. So, Karla, let's get into the real story, which is let's just talk about the period.
Yeah.
Company. Okay. So, I can't wait. Like,
I know.
I want to vomit on you right now, but
please do. Or bleed.
I went on a trip recently, and this very sweet person gave me a gift. And what she gave me was a reusable maxi pad. And I was like, God, that's a fucking weird gift to give somebody. Like, that's really personal. But she feels really passionate about recycling. She feels passionate about the environment. Mm-hmm. She feels passionate about women's empowerment. And then I was like, that's so cool. Like, for one woman to give another woman a period pad. But then, so that is nothing compared to the period company. So explain the period company. It's women helping women.
Yeah.
Period pan in it.
Or people who
one period at a time.
Yeah, one period.
For people who period.
For people who
I
period.
Love that.
Yeah, okay, so my child who's a boy, got their period early. Really early, to the point where I was like, I kind of was like shocked at how bad I was at it.
Yeah, it's kind of scary. I was literally just having this conversation.
What the fuck? You know,
they're like, oh my God, I got your period.
Pads. Like, I just wasn't on top of it. And Clem, he was young, and I was like, this is really fucking brutal. This is so hard for a kid to manage, like changing their pads and being organized. Like, it's a lot to ask a child, you know. And what we really do say here at the Period Company too is like, there's no stepping into womanhood when you get your period. Like, please, let's kill this dialogue. Like, you're still a kid. These are ancient mindsets. So when this happened, I was like, there has to be a better way to period. And period underwear was on the market. It was really cost prohibitive. Like, we're talking like $40 to $50 a pair. And I thought it was a real substandard product. And also part of me was like, I just fucking hate how these people talk about periods. I'm referring to like the whole world of it. And I was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make, and at the time I was making my t-shirts for Ex Karla. I said, I'm going to make the most affordable, the most absorbent, the easiest pair of period underwear in the world. And I'm going to price it so low that everybody can tap into having a sustainable period. In fact, ultimately, if you can buy 5 pairs, you're going to save so much money because you're going to save so much waste, right? Because at the same time that Clem got his period, I switched over to pads because I didn't want to wear tampons anymore. And I was like, wow, this is a way better period, but fuck, look at how much waste I'm creating. So it really was.
What about, like, could you just wear these underwear every day, regardless of if you have your period or not? Yeah. Like, that's what I would do. I'm just lazy. I would just be like, I'm just going to wear these.
Yeah, you'd wear like the light ones, the fiber, they're a little lighter absorbency. Like, our underwear, the heavy ones are for like, I mean, I haven't had any period waste in like 4 years. Like,
that's
amazing. Are amazing. So I have a great friend, you know, we've become especially really good friends, who's my co-founder, Sasha Markov, and she is this amazing CMO. And at the time she was bringing Impossible Burgers to life. And we met, and she was like, listen, it's amazing to have an amazing product. You have to have a great brand, and I would love to do this with you. And it was like kind of like the Wishy, where it's like, let's do it. I was like,
Just like kismet.
we have no money. Let's do it. And we set out to kind of create a whole new world where you didn't have to, there's no such thing as a posh period. Like, we're really great. Like, we use organic cotton. There's no PFAS, there's no toxins. But we were like, what if we all started to have great periods? What if we like all of a sudden said periods are fucking awesome and I'm not embarrassed of them, even if I do?
Yeah.
You know, like, what if we completely changed what a period is in the world, not only for the planet, but for all of us? And that's what we did, or that's what we're doing. And we talk about periods as superpowers. That sucks sometimes. We talk about never putting toxins in our body, and we talk about not creating waste. And it's been unbelievable. We're having our, the most unbelievable year already. We're only 2 years in. We're coming up on our second anniversary. But one of the hugest things about period for me was quickly how you learn your blind spots, right? Like, I just thought, this is going to help moms. This is going to help women like me. This is it. And I truly felt like, wow, I'm really stepping into my purpose. And this was great. But then all of a sudden we started getting these emails. Hey, do you know about period poverty? Which I knew about period poverty, but we started getting.
I don't know about period poverty.
Okay, so period poverty is when someone cannot afford period products, which seems like a fucking joke.
Tampons,
any of it,
under anything. Okay, got it.
They go without. And in America, over 50% of households have experienced period poverty. It's the number one expense that gets given up before food, before anything. And it's this real fucking spiral of shame, especially here in America, of embarrassment. It's the number one reason girls stop school globally. It's the number one reason, if a girl doesn't have, or a person who period doesn't have access to period products, that makes them so vulnerable. They stay home from school. There's early childhood.
Yeah, it's debilitating.
It's like debilitating. It's the first.
Yeah, it's like back to the dark ages and the red tent.
It's the first stop in a person's life, and it's something that is so fucking solvable. There's no, pardon my language, everybody. There's no reason anybody shouldn't do this. And by the way, there's amazing advocacies globally of like getting pads to people, getting tampons to people. But for us, we're like, you're still reliant on someone every month to give you enough to get through. What if
that's right.
Took that away and said, here are 5 pairs of period. You don't have to do anything else for your period. They last about 5 years. 5 pairs will get you through your period every single month. You use it
for 5 years.
For 5 years.
Okay, got it.
And so what we did was we created, besides our direct to consumer, and obviously we're heading into retail this year as well, we have what we call the mission vertical. And we will work with any organization in the world, anyone. If they can help us, we'll sell it at our cost.
At cost,
Get them products. So what we do is, like, for example, we also work with like foundations, like and just to get the products. And we've given out hundreds of thousands, and we don't really talk about it because we run so lean.
Yeah, you're still trying to make the period underwear.
We're just
and
like
ship it out to people who have their periods.
But like for example, we committed 100,000 pairs to an organization in Uganda on the border of Sudan and Uganda. And there are over 1 million refugees there. And these are people coming from, a horrible civil war in Sudan.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think some people could look at a lot of these people and think there's no real hope. But like, why should these women once a month get more fucking shit?
Be disgraced.
Like, I don't think
that's right.
We're
Life's hard enough.
Solve world peace. But if I can take care of someone's period, fucking hell.
Happy to do so.
Totally. Happy to do so. So that's what we do. So that's
great.
Yeah. So that's it. I mean,
wait. I have 1,000 questions.
Okay.
So this underwear lasts me all day. If you have your period, the underwear lasts you all day, or do you have to change your underwear in the middle of it?
You might have to change. Once you get into the swing of things, I can go all day. If it's a super duper heavy day, I change it a couple times, just like you change a pad or tampon.
Okay, got it. Okay, that's great.
But, one pair takes like 9 tampons.
one pair is equivalent to 9 tampons.
Yeah.
That's amazing, Carla.
Yeah.
First of all, just
Yeah,
congratulations. I think it's so cool that you have so many businesses. You seem so great. And I like that they're so different and they help women in different ways, and that you have co-founders who are really different than you, and you've like found a way to come together and make something together, which I think is just any entrepreneur's dream. What's your advice to either people starting their own career or who have an idea how to help someone, or who are very outspoken and they're afraid of how that affects their core business? Like, what's the Karla advice to everybody else?
Ooh.
What are the Karla principles?
What are my principles? Like, work hard, tell the truth, have your North Star. I think one thing I'll say about myself, and I also think it's also never think that everything I've done has gotten me to where I am, right?
Yep.
All my celebrities that I've worked with for 20 years helped me launch the Period company. Years of doing favors. Like, I called in and was like, hey, I need you to post this company. Like, we haven't done paid media, and we have a real national brand presence through celebrity. So it's like, everything's a stepping stone. You might not realize it, but it all help get you to where you're going. And also, I'm like, I always think be open to opportunities. I never do anything because I think maybe there's something I could learn there. And like, I'm always like, don't look back, just look brave.
I love that. I also like how you said, I started my career in the same way, which is like, I never said no to anything because I was afraid that nobody would ask me the next thing. Like, I would run out of opportunity at some point.
Yeah.
And I think there's something good to be learned from that. Like, big jobs, small jobs, shitty jobs, stupid jobs.
Yeah.
Like, just say yes and see what you can figure out and learn from it. And it all leads up to someplace new. You may not know what that is, but it's going to get you somewhere.
It gets you somewhere. And it also gets you to the point where you can start saying no.
Yeah, that's right. Which is a great place to be, actually.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the pivot, right? Keep saying yes. And then eventually it's like, okay, feel good where you're at, dial it back. Like, I still need to learn how to say no. Like, I should have said no to 3 things this week, but I didn't.
Yeah, no, totally.
Which is also like a freelancer. And that's the hustle too, right? It's like, you can't be in business if you're not willing to just give it your all. It looks great to people, but like, I have a really great friend, Jen Atkin, who has the company, haircut company Way. Hugely successful, of course. And, I remember we were doing my ad campaign for the t-shirts, and she's like, just remember this day, because this is the easiest day. And I already thought I had gotten there. And it's like,
yeah. And you're like, no,
being a business means like, I'm on customer service. I'm answering Instagrams. I'm not really stopping. So you better really, I think it's not for everyone. It sounds great. It sounds great to everybody, but like getting there and doing it is a whole new other.
Yeah. It's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah.
Karla, thank you so much. Congratulations on all your success.
Well, thank you
and
for having
everything
me.
that you're doing for women.
Hey, I have to ask, I want to know why it's called Token CEO.
Oh, because that's a good question. Because when I took this job, everyone was like, she's just a token. Like, she's not real. She's just there to be a skirt.
Isn't that bullshit? So
and it was women. Women called me that, which was interesting.
Well, I have to say, just final thoughts. It's like, we're kind of all, it's so interesting when just through period. There's no woman who feels good about their period because we've been told through advertising,
your period is bad.
System that's what makes us fucking terrible. And so, we have to work on ourselves, and then we're going to leapfrog with this new generation. But also, we're going to do it ourselves. Yeah.
That's right. And in our own way.
Because we're not token CEOs. We're running companies.
That's right. All right, Karla, I'm going to go order some Brooks Brothers shirts on Etsy now.
You do it.
And I will look you up when I come to LA.
Yeah, I would love
to spend time with you. You're great.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, all right, that was Karla Welch. I don't know how we got so lucky having Karla Welch talk to us. I love how her core business, she's clearly a premier stylist, how she's using the funding she gets from that, the contacts she has from that, the experience she gained from it to start other businesses. I think that's awesome. And now she's built this hugely rich platform. She's helping people around the world with period poverty. She's making products that are sustainable and create a solution for people. And then finally, she's like putting herself out of business by making an app that people can use so they don't need a stylist. So like, who's better than Karla Welch? One of my big takeaways that I wanted to dive into after talking to Karla is just the notion of fashion and permanence and image, and what does that mean in media, and what does that mean in fashion, and what are the implications of it? The second thing is just the notion of confidence and perfectionism, and how do those two things go together, or is one detrimental to another? I tend to think that the notion that you should be perfect is detrimental to your confidence. And one of the things I really loved about Karla is how confident she is, and also how she thinks about, her mission is part of what gives her that confidence, and her personality is part of what makes that confidence so palpable. But I think one of the things that's happening as I was thinking about her job as a stylist, or just her world, which is fashion, and my world, which is media, is that I think that kind of the same things are happening in both places. So like the rise of if you think about like the biggest trends happening in fashion over the last 5 to 10 years, fast fashion is obviously one of them. I think, when Zara hit the scene, or Topshop and Zara and H&M were big, or when they first came to the US, you thought that was fast fashion. I look now and I'm like, those are like mainstream, like Fashion Nova, Shein, like, there's all these brands. I did a search this weekend, and it was like every possible type of tight shirt, skirt, body top, like jumpers, anything imaginable that you could wear was for like $20. And it was so disposable. And it's so instantaneous, and it has no durability or quality to it. And it's like, clearly so obvious that like this is a shirt that you're going to wear for one night out, or it's for one TikTok or for one Instagram post. I think there's a couple things that are interesting for people, whether you're in business or you're just trying to survive every day, or you're thinking about what consumers care about. But this idea of things that are fast and things that are disposable. And I think those are two things that are affecting, obviously, not only fashion, but I think just the world overall, which is there's just the volume is so loud, and it's so frequent, and it's just never stops. Like we were looking up, Mackenzie did a ton of research, like every minute of every day, Snapchat users share over 500,000 photos. More than 120 people join LinkedIn every minute. There's over 4 million YouTube videos watched every minute of every day. There's almost 500,000 tweets. There are 46,000 photos posted on Instagram. 400 million people are on their Instagram every single day. 95 million photos and videos are shared every single day. 100 million people just use stories alone. So like just the noise that the internet has created, and this notion of posting something and then it disappears, the same is true in fashion. And I think that's everything has become so fast. It's needed to be produced very cheap, and it's become like infinitely disposable. Like everything is about the moment. Media is about the moment. Fashion is about the moment. And there's a lot of downstream consequences of that. I think one, if you watch any of the documentaries on fast fashion, like fast fashion was like the ultimate like poster child for globalization, right? Like the Western nations, rich companies need goods, they need stuff people want to buy, and poorer nations need jobs. But in reality, like the amount of pollution that comes out of fast fashion, the human rights issues that come from fast fashion, you look at the impact on the environment and how much pollution is created from so many dyes and so many chemicals that can never be gotten rid of. And then it's all for what? It's like all for a t-shirt that costs $6 that's posted once on Instagram and then it's thrown away. Like I think it creates clutter. Actually, I think there's so much clutter. I'm trying to get to fewer, better pieces that I wear more often. I'm trying to get to fewer, better news sources that I can read more deeply. I'm trying to consume less content so that the content I do consume, I really can appreciate it and value it. And it's kind of like there's two things happening, which is this like desire to make the world quieter and more stable and more deep. And then it's like this super highway of information and clothing and things that are happening in real time. Obviously, Barstool plays in both places. Like, I think podcasts are kind of deeper, have more guts to them, have more substance. We make a ton of Instagrams and a ton of TikToks, which are meant to be viral and disposable. So I just think it's interesting how the world is working. And I think what's becoming really hard for people is that it's just really hard to keep up. It's hard to keep up with the trend. It's hard to keep up with the fashion. It's hard to keep up with the production. And then when you're just thinking about that one in the moment thing or the profit, it can have like disastrous long-term consequences that you never think about. So second thing, let's just talk about confidence. So one is everyone feels not confident. Like, I woke up this morning and I was like, oh my God, I got no sleep last night. I suck. Everything about me sucks. I've always sucked. Literally hate myself. Like, that's me on a Thursday morning in September, right? Like, and I think everybody feels that way. Like, you wake up on the wrong side of the bed. You're chewing on a conversation that you wish you hadn't had or that you wish you conducted differently. You feel fat. You feel too skinny. You feel like your skin isn't great. You wish you looked different. I think there's so many reasons to not feel good about yourself every day that the best thing you can do is to find something you love. Because I think when you're doing things that you love, all those voices in your head that make you feel not confident, that make you feel not worthy, that make you feel inferior, or that make you feel bad, one, it's your voice mostly more than anybody else's. And two, that voice kind of just like shuts the fuck up when you're busy. So I think the best thing, and this is, this, we'll talk about quiet quitting in a little bit. Like, I think doing something you love or being in a place where you can find fulfillment, whether that's at work, whether that's outside of work, whether that's with somebody you love, or it's being by yourself. Like, when you're in the zone of what you love to do, you tend to feel great. And when I'm feeling out of the zone, which is often, I always like have this crossroads where I'm like, I'm just going to fester and obsess with everything wrong with me or the situation or the person or the environment or blah, blah, blah. Or I'm just going to I'm going to ignore that. I'm going to put it away and I'm going to focus on, and I'm going to try to get into the zone. I went for a run yesterday and like, I have just not been running. Like my Achilles is killing me. Like, I just haven't been running. And I had this like miserable 2-mile run. But by the end of it, I like made it up this hill. I'm like, if someone looked at me from the outside, they would be like, wow, you are out of shape. Your form is terrible. You're a terrible runner. Like, just go away. But in my heart, I was like, oh, I can be a champion. Just because I finished my 2-mile run and I got myself in the zone. So I think the biggest thing is just put yourself in the zone. Whatever that is that puts you in that happy place, try to be in it more, because when you're having fun and you're feeling fulfilled, it's easier to learn. It's easier to be criticized. It's easier to develop new skills. And that's what builds your confidence. Tips for being confident at work. So I think everybody can always use some confidence at work. So one is just stop the hate, like stop hating on yourself, right? And I think it actually goes all the way around. Stop hating on everybody else too. Like, I find that, at least in my life, the people who I experience who are the most negative, the most judgmental, the most hurtful, are the people who like themselves the least. So try liking yourself for 5 minutes and maybe stop criticizing and judging everyone else. 2, boost your knowledge, like get more experience, try new things. You don't have to go make like some crazy leap, just try something new. Take a baby step. For me, it was running 2 miles in the worst, most horrible, sweaty, smelly, disgusting, like bad form fashion possible. But try doing a little bit of something and stick at it, like stick with it. Try to focus on the good things. I find like in the morning, I've talked about this before, like I try to send 3 really heartfelt emails or texts, because if I'm not necessarily feeling great about myself, at least I can help make somebody feel great about themselves. And by making somebody else feel great, it makes me feel better. Take yourself seriously. Like, you know, yes, all of us are jokes. Like nobody is perfect. Everyone is deeply flawed. Everyone faces different flaws and different points in their journey where they're going to be successful and they're going to be miserable failures. But take yourself seriously, honor yourself as part of that journey, and that will help you with confidence. Take notes, bother to learn from other people. Like I think one of the things that drives me the most nuts about work these days is I find, at least for myself, that I'm trying to share a lot of insight. Like, hey, I've made that mistake like 10 times. Here's how you might want to avoid it. And nobody ever takes notes. And if you don't take notes, then one, it's kind of disrespectful to the person giving you advice and they'll ultimately stop giving it to you. But 2, then you can't remember it and make it your own. Like, don't take other people's advice just because they give it to you. Be respectful about the advice you get and then make it your own so that you can put it to work to feel even better about yourself every day. That's my 2 cents on confidence. All right, we're gonna do Q&A next. Before we do Q&A, let's talk about Ridge Wallet. So Ridge Wallet is technically a product for men, but I actually love menswear.
The Brooks Brothers shirt.
Speaking of our theme, so speaking of wearing men's Brooks Brothers shirts for $30, thank you, Karla Welch. I love the Ridge Wallet. Why do I like the Ridge Wallet? Like, one is my pants are so tight these days that like shoving a big bulky wallet in there is just not even a possibility. So what's awesome about the Ridge Wallet is it's slim, it's minimalist, it's very sleek, it's well designed. You can fit all your credit cards in there so you know exactly what they are. Shout out Rocket Money for knowing how many credit cards you have and what you're spending them on. The other great thing about the Ridge Wallet is that it holds cash and up to 12 credit cards. So like, I don't know anybody who needs 12 credit cards. There's probably people out there who do, but cash and 12 credit cards seems to me like a pretty good bundle. There's over 30 styles and colors, including burnt titanium and carbon fiber. The other thing is they're made with RFID blocking technology that protects you from digital pickpocketers. And the durable material means that each wallet comes with a lifetime warranty. Go to ridge.com, that's RIDGE.com, and use code Erika for 10% off your order. And with every dollar spent on the website before the end of this month, so before September 30th, you will be entered to win a brand new upgraded Ford Bronco. Or they'll just give you $75,000 in cash. $75,000 in cash would be tough to put into your Ridge wallet, but I dare you to try. That's ridge.com and code Erika for 10% off. All right, so let's just talk about perfectionism for a second, which is like, is perfectionism a bad trait? I think yes and no. Like, one, I think it's extremely debilitating because you're trying to like thread the needle every single time you do something. You want something done just so. And at least for me, like if I want something done just so, I can get crazy in my head about it. And that's not, like from a mental health perspective, a great place to be. Like, I don't like it when I'm obsessing on something and it can only be one way. I'm like, I got to get out of this jag. I think striving for greatness is a great skill at work. I think striving to push yourself and learn new things is an awesome way to approach work. I think being so satisfied when you nail something is an awesome way to feel at work. But the insistence that nothing can ever go wrong, that everything has to be done a certain way. One, I think it's annoying to your coworkers and people don't appreciate it. 2, I think it puts you into a box like we just talked about. And 3, I think it creates mental anguish because you can't control everything in life. You can't control everything at work. You can't even control everything about yourself, let alone what happens with everyone around you. So trying to have so much control with not only your stuff, but everybody else's and the world at large is just, it's like you're going to fail. And that fear of failure kind of kicks in, and then you just feel bad and anxious about everything. So I think striving for greatness is great. Trying to be perfect is not. Q&A. Perfectionism. How does a messy coworker coexist with a perfectionist? Never seems to work out. I think perfectionists and messy people are kind of perfect together. Like the perfectionist needs something to do and something to organize and like tactical shit to obsess over. And the messy person is just like thinking and exploring in their brain, or they're maybe distracted, or they're daydreaming, or they're imagining things, or they have visions. So I think if a perfectionist is trying to control other people than themselves, that tends to get a little bit messy, forgive the pun. But so long as a perfectionist knows their lane and they're okay about their OCD perfectionism, I think highly creative, highly disorganized, space cadet type of people go really great with people who are extremely anal and want the trains to run on time. Like I've always felt that in my career, by putting those types of people together, really great things can happen. Now, it's not, there's moments where it's going to be annoying. Like when I'm at home, I drink half of a glass of water or half of a glass whatever and leave it everywhere. Like drives everyone nuts. It's sloppy, it's messy, but I'm really just thinking and I'm distracted. So when you're pairing a perfectionist type of person with a messy, distracted person, gives you something to talk about. It gives you a reason to being, and it helps you learn about each other's way of doing things. So don't write it off if you have a messy coworker and you're super anal, or you're a visionary and you have someone who's a perfectionist. Just try to understand each other's boundaries, try to understand how you can learn from one another, and try to coexist in a way that the perfectionist brings some order to things and the messy person brings some delightful chaos. How can you still enjoy what you do and take pride in the quality of your work when it's not appreciated? Well, you appreciate your work. My biggest thing is, why is everyone looking for everybody else's approval? If you think your work is great, then your work is great. So long as you're intellectually honest with yourself about, is your work great? I think one of the things that's happening right now is people are looking for so much validation and so much approval and so many attaboys from everyone else. Like, what matters is that you're proud of your work. Now, if you work in a place where you're busting your ass and you're doing great work and it is empirically great work, and it's not appreciated, it's never recognized, nobody says thank you for it, then you're probably at an asshole company and you should move on and find a place where you will be appreciated. But the first thing is, you should appreciate your work. It's your career. It's your output. Like, nobody cares about it but you, in the same way that nobody cares about it as much as you do. And nobody's going to get as much experience from that, as much learning from it, or as much satisfaction as you. So be happy when you do great work and be proud of yourself. Celebrate yourself. Reward yourself. Tell yourself you're great. If you work in a place where you keep doing that and no one acknowledges it, then the culture is probably not great. You're probably not in a system that rewards greatness, or that rewards things in general. And if those things are important to you, and my vote is try to make that stuff as least important to you as possible, go find an environment where your work will be appreciated. But the biggest thing is appreciate it yourself first. Third and last Q&A. How do I stop doing it all myself because I want to ensure it's done right and on time? I struggle with this one. Self-reliance is an amazing thing at work, and it's also deadly. Self-reliance can be debilitating because, let's face it, nobody is going to do it the way you do it. And in your mind and that voice in the back of your head, it's going to be like, nobody's going to do it as good as you would do it. So I think perfectionism and the insistence on being the only person who can do it only one way is hugely, hugely, hugely limiting. It means that you'll never give anyone the chance to teach you. It means you'll never give anyone the chance to fail. It means you'll never give anyone a chance to find a new way to do things. And ultimately, you're just going to be stuck in this box where you're just making the same box all the time. So I understand being self-reliant at work. I understand being a perfectionist about your work. But I also think you have to, at some point, one, teach somebody else, and two, let go. And if you teach someone well, that person's going to mess up. They're not going to do it your way. It's definitely not going to be perfect. but you'll have given your skill to someone else, and you'll be there for them you'll be there for them as they find their path. And it means that you can take on new, bigger things, that you can learn, that you can do something a new way, that you can fuck up and grow from it. So don't get caught in a box of having to control everything, and don't get caught in the box of believing everything can only be done one way. That's bullshit. You are replaceable. Your way of doing things is erasable. So understand that. Teach someone else how to do it. Still hug them when they do it wrong or they do it differently, and then go take on something new yourself. All right, so for anybody who's still listening or watching, thank you so much. We appreciate you. Let us know if you're still listening at this point. We got to talk about quiet quitting again. I just can't get enough of quiet quitting. So Mackenzie and Devin and I are having a real-time conversation about why everyone is mad online about quiet quitting and what I'm not getting about it. People are just all sorts of mad online about quiet quitting. Mm-hmm. I just don't believe in that mentality. I don't think it's crazy. I think it's actually pretty smart. If you have a job, you work in accounting at Deloitte, you don't care about what you do all day. What you do all day is very boring. You hate your boss. You're sitting in cube land. It's miserable. My thinking is like, get the fuck out of there and get a job that makes you happy, or get in an environment where you're fulfilled and you're learning and you're growing. I think what people are saying though is, hey, I have a run-of-the-mill job. I'm going to get paid X many dollars an hour. I get paid $10 an hour to do whatever it is I do. I'm not going to do an inch or an ounce more than I have to do. I'm still going to get paid $10, and I'm going to focus on my life. I get that young people right now don't care about work the way I care about work. I think that's actually a great thing. I think caring more about your life doesn't mean you have to care less about work, though. And that's what I hate about quiet quitting, which is it's the idea that it's like a zero-sum game. Like if you love your life more, you have to love work less. I frankly think that if you get in behaviors in your life where you quit things and mail it in, it just makes you more dissatisfied. So this whole argument about, quiet quitting is good for your mental health, I think is bullshit. I think hating your job, mailing it in, feeling dissatisfied is not good for your mental health. Having a job that respects boundaries, or that you have a good work-life balance, or you're able to focus on your passion, which doesn't happen to be work, awesome. I love that. I don't think you have to quit anything to get that. So what do you think?
I absolutely agree, and I know people are playing to like the whole mental health thing, but I'm someone, especially the job that we have, and Mackenzie will probably agree because we're similar. I'm social, she's production though. You can set your own boundaries, but there's times that work like this will cross them, and that just comes with the nature of the job.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that now because the way that I think, and I said this earlier, maybe I'm naive because this is my first job, but I feel like if I'm hitting like milestones of salary, of my title, of whatever, like you can only go up.
Yeah.
So I'm 23. If I'm hitting like X milestone in salary, in title, then like I just am going to go up the ladder and hopefully be there sooner unless I was like, if I took a step back and was like, okay, I'm going to chill and figure it out, because I feel like I'm ahead of some of my peers.
Yeah.
But I want to keep
You want to stay ahead.
Yes. I want to stay
you're
ahead.
In it to win it.
And I want to get it young, because then I could just
then when you get to my age, you'll be like, all right, I'm good.
Yeah. And I also am big on mental health. I go to therapy every single week. I'm a huge mental health person, but
do you think that working hard is bad for your mental health? Why do people think that why do people think that work is bad for your mental health? No,
I don't think it's like working hard is bad for your mental health. I think it's a boundaries thing, because like there's just certain jobs that like don't have boundaries, and I think a lot of our
job is like case study, no boundary job.
Yeah.
Well,
what other jobs don't have boundaries? Is it just that you have an asshole boss? Is this a bad boss
I think
movement?
Probably.
That could be what it is. Yeah.
I think it could be a bad boss thing. I also think that sometimes you have to set boundaries for yourself, but you can do that without like taking a step back on your work. Yeah. Like if you're like, okay, you know what, today I'm going to grind. I might have to work a little bit on a Saturday, but I'm going to do it till like this time, and then after that, like I'm not looking at anything.
Yeah.
So you have to set boundaries for yourself in those ways, but you can do it without like completely not taking any more projects on. I actually like taking more projects on.
Of course.
Because it keeps everything fresh and like new.
Well, you're learning. You like to learn.
Because this is a new project for me, and it's exciting.
So exciting. What do you think?
I think this job is so different too. Like it's hard to really compare it, because like everybody here wants to do more. And like you want to
that's our culture.
Do so much better. Yeah. But I think it also just depends on your job. I don't necessarily think people who hate their job are doing it. Like, I think you can love your job and still kind of quiet quit. You just don't want to, like, put in the extra effort. I think it just depends on the type of person, but I don't think it necessarily means that you hate your job.
So Devin and I were talking this weekend, speaking of boundaries, and
so I was nervous about texting.
But anyway, someone posted to us on Instagram. They're like, I've been at my job for 3 years or 6 years. It was someone got a long time, kind of dissatisfied with work. Everybody's telling him or her that they should quiet quit. And my thing is like, no, actually quit. Like,
leave your job. Yeah,
quit.
I think that's
like,
probably
don't quiet quit.
That's also
quit.
the healthier thing to do. Like, talking about mental health.
Way healthier.
Why would you keep going to a place that you don't want to work at? Like, that
I
seems
think
crazy.
that's what's weird. Like, look, whether you love your job or you hate your job, or you work in a profession that you're into, or you work in a profession you could care less about, it's like your mattress. It's like the vast majority of your life you're spending at work. That's just a reality.
Right.
Whether you work in the home and you're like slaving after your family, or you work in the workplace and you're slaving at work, like everybody works. And the thing is, why have a quitting attitude about it?
I feel like people also are saying, one, it's burnout. Two, they were, to your point of saying like just quit, people were like, not everybody can just quit. I don't think you're not saying
obviously
quit
go
tomorrow.
find another job.
Yeah.
Like,
and I feel like maybe there's a period. I feel like if you're quiet quitting, then you're like already on the trail to actually quit. So why not like start looking for another job?
Why not actually quit and get yourself a raise while you're at it?
It makes sense to quit, or it makes sense to like actually, like, I feel like the trail to quitting is there's a little part where you do quiet quit, because if you're going to really quit, you're probably like quiet about it, but you're not going to take on new responsibilities.
Like putting in your 2 weeks. Like, you put in your 2 weeks, it's like, you're still working, but you know you're leaving.
100% you're mailing it in like it's your job.
Exactly.
I don't know. I just think it's a bad way to live your life. Like, I really, there's people here who have quiet quit, and then every year, like, the review time comes around and they don't get a raise and they get a shitty bonus, and then they're bummed about it. And then I think you start to feel bad about yourself, and you're already feeling bitter about work. It's just like all these negative feelings. Like, I get not loving your job. I've had jobs I fucking hated. But at least you can learn something from it, or grow from it, or be in it to win it from it. Like, I'm not saying you have to go above and beyond all the time, but it is an attitude of how you feel about work. If you're like, fuck you work when you're walking in the door, it's not going to go great. The other thing, it's like so predicated on the assumption that your paycheck is kind of like guaranteed. And it's not. Like, there's a recession coming, jobs are going to get cut. You know who the first people who are going to get cut are? The quiet quitters.
Right.
And then you really have nothing.
I just think it's a slippery slope. Like, my advice would be like, if you want a job that gives you more time to spend on your life, then find a job that will do that. The challenge is that job is probably going to pay you, is not going to pay you as much as a job that's higher paced, or is in a revenue driving bit. You know what I mean?
I think you used like KFC as an example. Like, he had his Mail Time podcast when he was like working in a cube. But it's like
KFC wasn't meant to be an accountant.
Right, but it took him a while, obviously, to become like a podcaster star here. So I think it just like takes time.
Anyways, I just think it's a fascinating conversation. I think the biggest thing of it is that people aren't resilient anymore. Why sell yourself short is kind of my thing. Like, I have to believe that for every person out there, there's a job for you, or a person for you, or someone who you could work for, or an industry that you could work in, or a job that you could have that would fulfill you without you compromising who you are. But I think the idea of doing the bare minimum as a philosophy is a non-resilient, non-interesting mentality.
I think people just want, like, they just want the success, like, right now.
They
want it right now.
They want the Instagram career. But it's also like, that's the other issue for your generation versus mine. Is
that we see that.
You're like, oh, I put my pictures on OnlyFans and I make more than I would make 5 times
like,
what I would make at work.
Go on The Bachelor and you have
I'm gonna wear, like, I'm gonna wear fast fashion and post my picture. Like, it's the monetization of lifestyle has challenged the notion of working
I think the problem is, though, we don't live in a vacuum. So we see that, and
and then you're like, I want that.
That can apply to, I think that applies to everything across the board. Maybe this is just a social media problem, but like this is the same thing with like people and body image. You know what I mean? Like before, like nobody was thinking about body image as much as they are now, because people are seeing people who are like face-tuned or this or that and edited to look a certain way. So you're like, well, why don't I have that?
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard for you guys right now. I mean, it's hard for everybody. All right. Any final thoughts, Mackenzie?
No.
All right. So that's it for today's episode. That's all we're doing here. Please subscribe to this on YouTube, leave a rating or a review. Have fun watching football tonight. Big Thursday night football kickoff. Rams. Rams and Bills. Ooh, we're Bills, right? Yeah, we're Bills. You Bills?
Eagles.
Oh. Who cares? And then we'll see you back here next week.